Cougar Radio 92.7 Sports now.
Hello, Chattanooga. How are you? Sam Jordan here on Nougat Radio 92.7 FM. Also, make sure to check us out. We do our radio shows live on Facebook and YouTube as well for your viewing pleasure. So we appreciate you all tuning in. Now, one of the things that I think is absolutely interesting is when we start talking about sports, we usually wind up talking about the greatest of all time. That's what we're obsessed with when we start talking about sports most of the time, is who is the greatest of all time? Who's the GOAT? That's what everybody wants to know. Who is the greatest of all time? You can go Google it yourself right now. Google the greatest basketball player, the greatest NFL player, MLB player, pitcher, point guard, quarterback, linebacker. You'll get lists for the rest of your life. You're never going to run out of lists to look at, right? Who is the greatest of all time? And I think one conversation that I think we have largely overlooked is not who is the greatest of all time, which that is important and that does matter. But who is the coolest of all time? It's a different conversation, right? Like, we're talking about a different factor, not necessarily skill. The coolest player may not necessarily be the best player, right? You look at players who are cool and great. Who do you think of? Joe Namath. Joe Namath was great. I mean, you look at the numbers for Joe Namath, and Joe Namath, numbers-wise, does not stack up with the other great quarterbacks of all time. But why does that matter? He's Broadway Joe, right? Like that's a huge deal. Like, look at Kobe Bryant. And I know I am invoking all of the wrath of every Kobe stan that there is, but Kobe is the prime example of a guy that's really great, but Kobe's kind of overrated. But in large part because of how cool he is. Like, everybody knows 3 or 4 Kobe stories about Kobe's insane work ethic, which is cool. The fact that Kobe's kind of a jerk, which is cool. The fact that he seems to be able to do things that other people can't do. He makes shots that other players can't make. And then you find out afterwards, he practiced it. He practiced the ridiculous shots that other people can't make. That's cool. Like, there's no working your way around that. The coolest of all time conversation affects who we actually perceive as the greatest of all time. They're connected. Pete Rose, cool. I mean, dangerous because he gambled on baseball, and that's why he's not in the Hall of Fame. But there is an edginess factor to Pete Rose that is undeniably cool, right? The fact that he injured somebody in an all-star game, even though, it's an all-star game. But Pete Rose couldn't stop trying long enough to just enjoy an all-star game and ran through a catcher and basically ended his season. I mean, there's a coolness to some of this stuff that it's not necessarily something you should applaud. It's not necessarily something that you should lift up, but there are guys that have moments in their career and a certain charisma and a certain attitude and a certain aura. Chad Ochocinco. Chad Ochocinco is a very cool football player. You would never confuse Chad Ochocinco with Jerry Rice, right? Like, people have arguments all the time of, well, should T.O. be in? Should T.O. not be in the Hall? T.O. should be in the Hall. I'm glad he's going to be in the Hall. I'm glad how he's choosing to do it, right? Giving the bird to the Hall of Fame committee. But Chad's not a guy that you ever think to yourself, that guy ought to be in the Hall. Not really. But he's a cool player. He's a man who literally changed his name from Johnson to Ochocinco so that it would say Ochocinco on the back of his jersey. Charles Barkley's cool, right? Like, Charles Barkley was great and cool. You get that wonderful combination of players, but it's not connected. Patrick Ewing is great. Patrick Ewing wasn't cool. Reggie Miller was cool. I mean, you look at the Detroit Pistons, the 2000 Detroit Pistons, or the 2001 Detroit Pistons that end up, or sorry, the 2002 Detroit Pistons that wound up winning that NBA Finals. And that was a team that played boring basketball. It was hard, very hard to watch. It was difficult for large stretches of time. And what I'm telling you is it's incredible to me the extent to which those players had cool guys on their team. Like Rip Hamilton was cool. He was never great after that, but he had the mask. You remember the mask? He had the mask. He broke his nose. He never stopped wearing the mask ever and ever again. Like Rip Hamilton was cool. Ben Wallace was cool. Was Ben Wallace great? Ben Wallace might be the greatest rim protector in the history of the NBA. But was Ben Wallace great? I don't know, but Ben Wallace was cool. He had the fro. He had the scowl. He was a scary looking dude. He was ripped. I mean, there are players that are cool that are not necessarily great, and there are players that are great and not necessarily cool. And I think that the baseball has this problem because there are not enough cool players in the major leagues. Last night, Bryce Harper proved that he's the coolest player in baseball. He's not the best. And certainly, if you look at his numbers this season, he's definitely not the best. It's confusing. He's bad. It's a contract year. Why is he bad in a contract year? There's no rhyme or reason to what's happening with Bryce Harper. But he went out there and he put on a show for the fans in the Nationals ballpark. Bryce Harper wins the home run derby, but he won it in clutch fashion, right? Coming down to the wire, Bryce Harper wins the home run derby in front of the home crowd. He was behind several times. It was incredible. That is the most fun I've had watching the home run derby in a very long time. And I say this as someone who legitimately loves watching the home run derby. Like, I watch the home run derby and I get excited every single year. There isn't a single year that goes by where I'm not happy, generally speaking, with the home run derby. I mean, there's a few exceptions, but for the most part, the home run derby is one of my favorite things in sports, and I love it. And this took the cake, even above all the other ones. And I know I'm a Nationals fan, so part of this is that, but part of it is there was actually moments of suspense in a home run derby, and I can't remember the last time I was on the edge of my seat watching the home run derby. I can't. Like, I honestly can't. You look at the skills competition in the NBA, or that skills competition that they have in the NFL, or the slam dunk contest in the NBA. Like, there's nothing that creates this level of suspense in those games in this kind of way. And certainly nothing that lets a player flash their coolness in a way. Right, because you can throw down an incredible dunk in that Aaron Gordon, Zach LaVine final for the slam dunk contest. That's still the best one that the NBA's had since like Vince Carter in 2000. That's to me, in recent memory, that's the best one that they've had. But did anyone come away from that slam dunk contest going, well, boy, Aaron Gordon's really cool? Like, no, not really. Like, he's a great dunker. Zach LaVine's a great dunker, but no one came away looking absolutely cool. Bryce Harper came away from this home run derby looking cool as hell, man. He has something special. And I think Major League Baseball is trying to fix a lot of its issues with viewership and a lot of its issues with ratings by trying to figure out how to superficially change rules. How do we shorten the game? And that stuff matters. It does matter. I'm not here to suggest that it's meaningless. But people who love baseball will watch baseball games whether or not the game's long or short. People who don't love baseball, I don't think, are watching games whether or not the game is long or short. But people who love baseball will watch other teams because it's interesting, because the players are interesting. People who don't watch baseball will tune in for a player that might be exciting. Like, I have friends that aren't really big into the NBA, but when LeBron was carrying Cleveland in the NBA playoffs, people tuned in to watch. You want to watch greatness. When the Warriors do what they do, there's a way that they do it. You sit down and you watch, and they're beating a team by 10, 15, 20 points, and it's still really interesting to watch. It's because those guys are interesting. Steph's interesting. Durant's interesting. Draymond is definitely interesting. They're a fascinating group of guys. LeBron is a fascinating player. He's cool. They're cool. You don't have this as much in Major League Baseball, which is stupid because it's a sport that lends itself to coolness. Guys do things in different ways. Guys hit differently, pitch differently. Their mannerisms are all different. It's a sport where you actually can be very expressive, and a lot of that expressiveness, I think, gets repressed. I think it gets held in because of their unwritten rules that you don't show up pitchers, but I think you should show up pitchers. Why? That's fun. That's interesting. That's exciting. If someone hit a home run and pointed a bat right at the pitcher, that would be insane. And if they were struck out at their next at bat, that would be crazier. Like, we don't allow baseball to have room to really be fun. And it's crazy because you watch guys play, especially the younger guys that are coming into the league. Ronald Acuna especially, but Ozzy Albies is a great one. The Nationals have Juan Soto. The guys that are capable of going out there and playing the game with an obvious level of joy, you don't see that happen all the time. They play the game at a high level, but they're happy to play it. The expressiveness, the way that they carry themselves, all of this stuff matters. Right? And there are guys that do things in a way that's cool. Bryce Harper does stuff like that. I remember Bryce Harper was hit by a pitch. You know, boy, they were playing the Phillies. I don't remember who was pitching, but he was hit by a pitch because the pitcher thought he was too arrogant, and Bryce Harper from third base stole home. I mean, that's cool. You just need guys to do things and to be cool in Major League Baseball, and there's plenty of room for it, and I'm sure there are plenty of cool guys. But your best player is Mike Trout, and no disrespect to Mike Trout. Mike Trout is, without question, the best player in baseball. But if you were to ask me today, I'm a general manager, I'm the owner of a team, and I have to choose between Bryce Harper and Mike Trout to start a baseball team, I'm choosing Bryce Harper. And the reason I'm choosing Bryce Harper is because Bryce Harper is a great baseball player, but he's cool. I can sell jerseys. I can sell merchandise. Trout's great, right? Like, Trout's a Hall of Famer already. But Mike Trout is boring. He's a nice guy. He's a humble dude, but he's boring. And the problem with baseball is not that the game's boring. The game hasn't changed. People used to think the game was fun. The game hasn't changed. But what people think is interesting, that's what's different. That's in a different place. You can't compare the two. We think that basketball players are interesting for a different reason than we used to think that they were interesting. We used to love dunks more than we used to love shots. Dominique Wilkins, the human highlight film. Dr. J. Like, these are some of the greatest dunkers in the history of the league. Charles Barkley. Shaq, especially when he was in Orlando in his younger days. These are some of the greatest dunkers in NBA history. We still have great dunkers. Like, LeBron dunks are still exciting. Russell Westbrook dunks are still exciting. But kids are more excited about threes. It's more expressive. You get to show who you are in the act of getting open to shoot a three and shooting a three. Right? James Harden crossed over Wesley Johnson and crushed that poor guy's soul like he didn't have a family. Wesley Johnson's got a family. He's a grown man with a family, and James Harden crossed him over, made him fall down, stared at him, waited till he stood back up, and then drilled a three. It's the most disrespectful thing I've ever seen happen on a basketball floor. And the reason why we all loved it was because it made James Harden look cool. We're not sure why it made him look cool, but it did. And you think that the owner of the Houston Rockets is not thrilled through the roof that James Harden jerseys are flying off the shelves? Because he is. You can sell more with cool than you can with great. Bryce Harper, since the moment he stepped in the league, among all of his peers, is 100,000% the coolest baseball player in the major leagues. And I look at this National League lineup, starting lineup for tonight, the All-Star game, and I go, like, this is not the greatest starting lineup of people when you look at how they're playing this year. With the exception, of course, of Freddie Freeman and Nick Markakis, who deserve to just be in the starting lineup because they've both been just bonkers this year. But Bryce has played pretty terribly. Right? Like, we've had an up and down year from Wilson Contreras. Like, we've had, like, there are guys on this lineup, but Bryce is cool. Like, he's going to be the focal point of all of this, not just because he's a national and they're playing in the national stadium, but he's going to be a focal point of all of this because of his persona. There are not enough personas in Major League Baseball today. And I think that that's a gigantic problem that the league needs to address. I don't know how they address it because a lot of this stuff is unwritten rules. A lot of this stuff is, I'm young, I'm feisty, and I want to celebrate every time I hit the ball. But then the older dudes on the team go, act like you've been here before. Why? I haven't been here before. Or I am from a Latin American country. Latin American baseball players are more fun to watch. Again, they're cooler. They have the persona. They'll hit a home run on you and flip the bat right in your face. Bat flipping is cool. You know who doesn't like bat flipping? Old American players. So then the Latin American players come to the major leagues. They play over here and they lose their flair. They lose a lot of the stuff that was interesting about them when they got here. It's not interesting. It's just not fun. It's not marketable. Like, the game of baseball, when you understand it, and it's a very simple game, it's a fun game to watch. The game of baseball is not going to be interesting if it's played by a bunch of boring people. And in fact, no sport is interesting if it's played by a bunch of boring people, right? Like, we look at the NFL. The most important position on the field is the quarterback position. Who do kids like? Kids like wide receivers. Kids like Megatron. Kids like Julio Jones. They like T.O. At least when I was a kid, we liked T.O. We like Antonio Brown. Like backs, like Le'Veon Bell. Quarterbacks tend to hide their personality. They're the face of the team. They don't want a bunch of media attention, at least not more media attention than they're already getting. They tend to repress themselves. They tend to hide their personality. But it's okay because you've got a bunch of other guys on the team that are allowed to have personalities, that are allowed to be outgoing. You're the Patriots. Tom Brady doesn't have a personality, but it's okay because you have Gronk. Like, even the Patriots, who are the most vanilla team in the league in terms of who on that team is actually interesting, they've got Gronk. Julian Edelman's really cool. Right? Like, we look at these teams and we look at these sports and we go, why are the ratings down? Anytime you repress personality, you repress coolness. And if you repress coolness, then you might as well cancel the ratings. Like, the NFL ratings started to go back up when they allowed players to celebrate in the end zone. Gee, I wonder why. Because you're allowing players to express themselves, and that lets you look at a guy and go, that guy's pretty cool. You couldn't do that before. You really couldn't. It's something that's important. It gets overlooked all the time. Major League Baseball, they have a marketing issue. And I would say, by the way, this is the same for NASCAR. NASCAR needs to find a way to make some of these guys cool, because Dale Earnhardt was cool and did not need a marketing campaign for you to figure out why that guy was cool. Jeff Gordon was cool. You didn't need to figure it out. You knew. You're listening to All New Nuga Radio and NugaRadio.com here on 92.7 FM. Let's talk about the All-Star Game next.
Traffic, news, and information. Nuga Radio. Digital FM 95.3 HD4 and 92.7 FM.
3, 2, 1.
Chatham, Nuga Radio. Digital FM 95.3 HD4, 92.7 FM's news now.
More details after a body was found in a dumpster in Chattanooga. The body was confirmed to belong to 60-year-old Robert Townsend. He was found in a dumpster on Laura Street behind Memorial Hospital. We're still waiting on cause of death. The race for Senate is neck and neck in Tennessee. Marsha Blackburn has narrowly outfunded former Governor Phil Bredesen. Bredesen has outspent Blackburn, however, by over $1 million. Voters decide who their next senator will be in the November election. And 2 fatal crashes in North Georgia. Reports say in the first crash, an SUV ran around a curve too quickly. It rolled over, ejecting the occupants. 44-year-old David Kendrick, the driver, pronounced dead at the scene. In the second crash, a pickup truck ran off the road in Dade County and slammed into a tree. 25-year-old Brittany Morrow from Chattanooga was the passenger. She thrown from the truck and killed. Val St. John for Nuga Radio, News Talk 92.7, Action News Now.
Hi, David Toulis. I made the move, and I hope you will too. 1 o'clock every weekday afternoon, 1 till 3, Nuga Radio.
92.7 Chattanooga weather.
Becoming fair through your nighttime hours, a little drier and milder overnight, lows into the upper 60s to around 70. Now for your Wednesday, a beautiful day. Lots of sunshine with lower humidity. Still hot, but not bad. Highs of around 90 again on Thursday. Tired of the pressures and hassles of car shopping? Come see what more people are making the short drive to Jackson Chevrolet Buick GMC in Lafayette, or online at jacksongm.com. That's Jackson Chevy Buick GMC in Lafayette. And I'm Soar Gene 12, Chief Meteorologist Patrick Moore.
Nuga Radio 92.7.
I got my business up and running, and it's already expanding. I got lucky. Lucky because I found Signal Voice and Data. Signal Voice and Data can incorporate all of my business information sharing and communications seamlessly, keep my costs down, and let me work more productively with endless connectivity no matter where I might be. That's called working smart, not hard. Go to signalvoicetn.com and bring the future of communication to your business today. signalvoicetn.com.
I live, work, and play in Chattanooga, the scenic city. But when it comes to my next car, truck, or SUV, I'm Alabama bound. Fort Payne, Alabama, and Landers McClarty Ford. Big city selection of new and pre-owned vehicles with the small town price and friendly service. Now, I'm not knocking my hometown, but when it comes to my next ride, I only go to Landers McClarty Ford of Fort Payne. Their selection is huge. But if I can't find what I want, they'll find it for me with the same low price, same great service, and only a short drive away. And I can go online to look around before I leave the house. Got that next dream ride in your head yet? Yeah, you do. Get a head start at Landers McClarty Ford of FortPayne.com. Don't just dream it, find it at Landers McClarty Ford of FortPayne.com. That's right, Landers McClarty Ford of Fort Payne, Alabama.
Nuga Radio.
Roar into Talladega.
Hello? Who am I speaking with? Eric, you're our winner. Really?
You'll receive tickets for all 3 races between the Camping World Truck Series, Xfinity Series, and the Monster Energy Cup races.
Holy cow.
In addition, you'll receive a 2-night stay at the Microtel Hotel and restaurant accommodations at 2 area restaurants.
Nuga Radio.
Roar into Talladega.
Nuga Radio.
92.7.
Your NASCAR racing station. Nuga Radio 92.7 FM.
Nuga Radio 92.7.
Do you hear that? That, my friend, is not what you're thinking. That is the new 2018 Indian Chieftain Dark Horse. Yeah, Indian. Indian motorcycle is more than a bike. It's an experience, an American icon, and Indian Motorcycle of Chattanooga is the only place you'll find their new 2018 line. Are you ready to ride? Join the club. Go to Indian Motorcycle of Chattanooga. Just look for the sign, 153 and Amnicola. Indian Motorcycle, the true American original.
Call 423-875-3600 if you're looking to expand your professional look of your business. Then consider the vast opportunities that are available when you locate your office with the Rains Group family. Remember, it's location, location, location. And the Rains Group has the location for your professional office. Check out the spaces for lease at Executive Business Park on the Lee Highway. Small or large, we will build to suit your needs with the Rains Group. Call 423-875-3600 for the business professionals with the Rains Group.
Chattanooga Paint and Decorating would like to remind you it's so hot out there. And guess what? Your deck is taking a beating. It's probably starting to show wear. If you're hosting friends, get your deck entertainment ready with a fresh coat of stain and protect it from heat, sun, and rain with a quality sealant. If you want to get to work, Chattanooga Paint and Decorating want to help you. For exterior paint, stains, sealants, and supplies, stop by Chattanooga Paint and Decorating today on Hicks and Pike across from Valvoline or online at ChattanoogaPaint.com.
Nooga Radio.
Are you brain dead? Still voting for pathetic liberals? Take 3 hours of Sean Hannity from 3 to 6.
Nooga Radio.
Then call us in the morning between 9 and 11.
92.7
Nooga Radio. It's the moment you've been waiting for. Sam Jordan's Nooga Radio, 92.7 Sports. Now.
Hello, Chattanooga. You're listening to all new Nooga Radio and NoogaRadio.com here on 92.7 FM, the Locker Room Show with Sam Jordan, Keon Rose, filling in for Sam while he's out of town. And Kawhi Leonard, I don't know what to make of Kawhi Leonard. Is Kawhi Leonard actually smart? I don't know. Because here's a report from Chris Carter of Fox Sports 1. He's very close to Kawhi Leonard, and also Kawhi's agent and Chris Carter's agent are the same person. And so there is a level of connectivity there. Granted, I do think that Kawhi's agent is using Chris Carter in as much as he's leaking a lot of this stuff. But nevertheless, here it is. Kawhi Leonard wants to be traded to the Lakers and the Lakers only, or to Los Angeles. He didn't say the Lakers necessarily. So they could trade him to the Clippers potentially and fulfill what it is that he's asking for at the moment. Kawhi also does not want to be a one-year rental on a team. He doesn't want to go to any of the other squads in the league that would be looking for his services, which to this moment are the Clippers, the Nuggets, the Suns, the Blazers, the Raptors, and the Wizards. They've all called the Spurs about Kawhi Leonard, which is smart. That's just due diligence. The issue with Kawhi is that by demanding to be traded just to Los Angeles, he takes away any leverage that the Spurs have to trade. The Spurs don't have any leverage if he can't go anywhere and stay. There are teams that are willing to have him for a one-year rental. We believed early in the offseason that wasn't the case, but there are actually teams in the league. I just named them. Clippers, Nuggets, Suns, Blazers, Raptors, and Wizards. All of those teams would be interested in a one-year rental, especially the Eastern Conference teams, the Raptors and the Wizards, because the Raptors just have to do something. The Raptors have to perform in some way. Their fans are getting impatient with the way that team is built, and Kawhi would help put them over the top. Adding Kawhi to any Eastern Conference team automatically makes them the best team in the Eastern Conference. Kawhi Leonard is the third best player in the league, in my opinion, after Kevin Durant and LeBron James. So I look at it and I go, okay, he makes them better, whoever it is that he's going to, but he limits the Spurs even more by going, and I don't want to be a one-year rental. Well, you can't be that specific, because then the Spurs aren't going to trade. You could say the Spurs should trade Kawhi and get something back for Kawhi. But here's the thing. With Kawhi Leonard really tying their hands behind their back, what the Spurs could get for Kawhi by trading only with the Lakers and trading only with the Clippers is not much. It's next to nothing. They're going to get fleeced in the trade. So there's no difference between trading him and just letting him walk in free agency next year. And my thing is Kawhi Leonard really willing to sit out? Is he truly willing to not play basketball next year just to prove his point that he doesn't want to play in San Antonio and he doesn't want to play in any place that's not LA? And what does that even say about you if you're Kawhi Leonard? Because I think it says, in my opinion, that you're a diva. Now, we're not used to divas saying as little as Kawhi says. Kawhi doesn't say anything. Kawhi is quiet. He doesn't say a whole lot. We're not used to divas that come in that form. We're used to divas looking like Randy Moss. We're used to divas looking like Terrell Owens, right? We're used to divas even looking like Dwight Howard, where he's a little goofy and fun, and he's really concerned with what people think about him, and he goes to the media to explain himself, and he, has awkward interviews with his coach. He does a lot of stuff publicly. Dwight Howard is even a guy that we look at and go, that guy's a diva. What's crazy to me, what's absolutely crazy to me, and something that's off the wall is that Kawhi Leonard is the quintessential diva. He wants it his way. There's no other way that it's going to be. And if he doesn't get his way, he's just not going to participate. There are rumors out there that Kawhi Leonard's diagnosis of an injury last year, mostly not real. His injury, mostly imaginary. I don't want to say entirely imaginary, but it was mostly imaginary. That he went and sought out a second, third, and fourth opinion until he found a doctor basically that said, yep, he's hurt. He can't play, so that he wouldn't lose any money. But he has been medically cleared to play. He's going to be playing for Team USA basketball, so he can't pretend to be injured again next year for the Spurs or whoever it is that would have him. And he's going to have to play out his contract in San Antonio or somewhere else, but he's not going to be playing it out in LA because the Lakers aren't giving up everything that they've built so far to get Kawhi when they could just wait 1 year and get him for free. And the Clippers are building up a team as well. I mean, they're behind, but they're building a team. They hired Jerry West to build their team. Jerry West is a brilliant dude. He's not going to allow himself to be fleeced by the San Antonio Spurs in that way. Kawhi Leonard has zero leverage whatsoever. The fact that he doesn't want to go to be a 1 year rental and the fact that he must be a Laker is a fact that he is desperate. He and his group, they're desperate. That's what that is. So they're putting some more stuff out there to try and see if they can add some more pressure on the Spurs. And I'm telling you, the Spurs are not buckling under the weight of that pressure. They have no reason to. They've got nothing to gain from rushing Kawhi. Maybe you wait. Maybe the Lakers have an injury or two, and then the Lakers are a little bit more desperate to try and get Kawhi. But also, the Lakers don't even have the cap space. The Lakers actually can't get Kawhi. They do not have the cap room to trade for him. They also made these free agent signings that led me to believe that they're pretty satisfied with where they are next year, and there will be no more extra building from the Los Angeles Lakers until the end of the next regular season. Right? Like, what do they need Kawhi for? They're already a contender. Once they added LeBron, they became a contender. What do they need Kawhi Leonard for? Nothing. And he's already said he wants to be there. Well, good. We'll be right here waiting for you when you are a free agent a year from now. The Lakers don't have a reason to move on this. The Spurs don't have a reason to move on this. The Clippers, who are mildly in the conversation, also don't have a reason to move on this. The only person who really is trying to make something happen appears to be Kawhi Leonard, and it doesn't seem to be working because everybody knows. Look, here's something about life. Jalen Rose says this all the time. You don't get what you deserve. You get what you've got the leverage to negotiate. And right now, Kawhi Leonard went from having all the leverage to none of the leverage. If Kawhi Leonard were open to any trade, he'd have the leverage. Because teams would be able to offer the Spurs things that they could not refuse. because Kawhi just wants to be a Laker, and the Lakers know this, and the Spurs know this, and everybody knows this, he's essentially just wasting his breath. He has no leverage. Everyone knows where he's going to wind up next year, whether or not he is traded. So then why trade? Why not just wait? Like this is something that reeks of being orchestrated by someone with not a whole lot of experience, which I would say the rumors are it's Kawhi Leonard's uncle. Right? And Kawhi's on board with this, and his uncle's on board with this. And it seems like it, because these moves are moves that are made by someone who does not understand negotiation. Everything that they've done, if they really wanted to be traded, was wrong. Even if the goal was ultimately to wind up a Laker, you can't possibly limit everything down to just one team, because then you erase all the other teams who can offer. And the reason why the Lakers would have had a chance would be because other teams could offer. The Spurs don't want to get nothing for Kawhi Leonard. And if they do, then they'll just let him walk to get nothing. They'll let him wait a year. Why empower the Lakers further? There's no reason to do it. You're listening to all new Nuga Radio and NugaRadio.com here on 92.7 FM. I'm really looking forward to the All-Star game tonight for baseball. And the reason why is one main reason. The starting lineup of the American League is insane. That starting lineup has to be the most murderous starting lineup with regards to the fact that they have guys from the top to the bottom of the lineup who can knock it out of the park. And they're going up against the National League starting pitcher, Max Scherzer. Max Scherzer is pretty much the best pitcher in the major leagues. Now, Jacob deGrom's got a very strong case there. So I say pretty much because you could make the strong case that Jacob deGrom actually is. He's got the lowest ERA in the league by half a run. It's like no one's even close to this guy. But let me tell you the American League starting lineup. Mookie Betts from the Red Sox, Jose Altuve, Mike Trout, JD Martinez, Jose Ramirez, Aaron Judge, Manny Machado, Jose Abreu, Salvador Perez. How nuts is that? That lineup, I'm looking forward to the first inning of this game, the first couple of innings, and Scherzer having to work his way through that lineup. That is a scary group of individuals to have to work your way through. Mike Trout is the best player in the league. Aaron Judge is a home run machine. Manny Machado is playing some of the best baseball of his life. And JD Martinez is having a down season, but like he's still playing well. Right? And that's not even getting to like Abreu and Mookie Betts. Now, the American League starting lineup is filthy. And I can't imagine how Scherzer navigates his way through that lineup, except he's Max Scherzer. And we've seen him mow down people before. This is absolutely exciting. Plus, Max Scherzer, national, in his home ballpark. If Max Scherzer makes it through that starting lineup, right, and he fans a couple of guys in front of that crowd, Nats fans are loud. Let me tell you something. Nats fans are crazy. They went nuts at the home run derby last night, and the Nationals are sitting at 500. So there is a sinking feeling like this is as good as it's going to get for us this season. We don't know. Don't know. 5 games back of the Phillies. You know, and you're in third place. It's not impossible. It's not an impossible amount of ground to make up, but the team's got to play better. Bryce has got to play better. That whole team's got to hit better. Guys have got to stay healthy. Strasburg just got off the DL. He's been out since June 8th. I mean, this team's got to stay healthy. And they've got to play much better than they have been playing if they want to have a chance. So there's a feeling in Washington that this might be as good as it gets. And you saw it last night. You saw a group of people that wanted the best for Bryce Harper and wanted him to win something for them. And that's what made it amazing. And I think we have another chance for that tonight with Scherzer against the American League. Because of how good he is, but also because of how good all those guys are. I mean, come on. That is ridiculous. That is ridiculous. So I have a question for you. How hard would someone have to screen you in a game of basketball before you called the police? That's right. The police. How hard would someone have to screen you in a game of basketball before you notified emergency services? Dateline, Sterling, Virginia, in which a hard screen at an LA Fitness resulted in a call to the cops. Since when do people call the police over a hard screen? When have you ever seen this in your life? I have been playing pickup basketball every weekend for about the last 2 years, going on 3 years now. And I have run into some hard screens, right? And, you know, some of them, they're real hard. You peel yourself off the ground and you go, wow, I don't think I can breathe right now. But at no point, after having been screened by a person, did I think to myself, I'm going to have to go over to my phone. I need to call the cops. Yeah, sure. You run into a screen and you think to yourself, did someone get that guy's license plate? You're just out of it. But you call the police? Would you really call the police? I've never seen that before in my life. A guy got hit by a hard screen in a basketball game, and he called the police. And I have a lot of questions. One, what was your childhood like? What was your childhood like that you ran into a hard screen and a pickup basketball game and you called 5-0? What was your childhood like? What did your parents teach you to do? When you struggled in life, how did you get over it? Which is my second question. When you have problems in life, how do you get over it? If you can't make it through a pickup basketball game without calling the police, how do you get out of bed and walk around all day? I'm dead serious. How do you do it? There has to be some amazing miracle that makes that possible. If you can't make it through a basketball game without calling the cops, how do you make it through life on a daily basis? Can someone explain that one to me? Because I don't know how you do it. And my last question is, what do you think the police are for? What on earth do you think the police are for? In fact, I'm seeing a trend. It's a disturbing trend in America, and I have a very big problem with it. Which is people calling the police for no reason. Now, a lot of the stories that we've seen earlier in the year, the little girl that got the cops called on her for selling water, the two gentlemen that were in that Starbucks that got tossed out of the Starbucks because the Starbucks employee called the police even though they didn't do anything wrong. The family that got the police called on them because they were at a cookout. All of that. These people did nothing wrong. And you can make a case that there's racial undertones involved in all of that stuff. And maybe there is. But I won't even go that far. Don't call the police over nonsense. That's the advice. Don't call the police over nonsense. That's easy. The police are emergency services. If you are not experiencing a real emergency, don't call the police. The police never wanted this. Right? Like we talk about the relationship between Americans and the police in 2018, and we don't know where we stand in a lot of ways, and maybe the police departments are over militarized, and you can make all of these other cases. But man, if you're not experiencing an emergency, leave the police alone. Leave those people alone. They work hard enough with real problems trying to handle actual emergencies without you being a moron and calling the police over what? A screen in a basketball game, a hard screen. And you know what? I bet that screen was legal too. You know when you were a kid and you were playing with the other kids and then stuff maybe got a little bit rough and then one kid went away crying, and the words that he said as he ran away was, "I'm going to call my daddy on you." That kid, this is what this looks like when that kid grew up. Right? Like, he just can't handle life's problems by talking to the people in front of him, by handling the people in front of him. He's got to call, like, I don't know if you can, I'll post the video on Facebook. The people are out there standing there talking to the police, and the police officer clearly looks annoyed because he doesn't want to be there. Right? Police want to help people, but the police never wanted this. And some bozo made it his life's mission to waste the time of the guys he was playing basketball with and to waste the time of his local police department. If you're not experiencing an emergency, do not under any circumstances call the police. I don't know if I can make this any clearer. You're listening to All New Nuga Radio, NugaRadio.com here on 92.7 FM. You should throw that guy in jail. Watch it, Keanu Rose. Next.
Traffic, news, and information. Nuga Radio. Digital FM 95.3 HD4 and 92.7 FM.
3, 2, 1.
Chattanooga Radio. Digital FM 95.3 HD4. 92.7 FM's news now.
A 19-year-old North Georgia father was indicted in the death of his son, Justin Langston, charged with several charges, including second-degree murder, involuntary manslaughter, and cruelty to children. Investigators say he fell asleep with his infant son while he was intoxicated. That son then fell between a couch and an ottoman and suffocated. Walker County Sheriff's Office is trying to find a 17-year-old girl who they say went missing in a rough part of town. Detectives say she disappeared from her home and could be in the East Lake area of Chattanooga. She's 17 years old, 5'9", 190 pounds, brown hair and hazel eyes. If you know where she is, call the police. Vice President Mike Pence is going to make an appearance in Cleveland on the 21st to pay a visit to Lee University. He'll speak at an event put on by America First Policies. Later, he'll be in Chattanooga to campaign for Marsha Blackburn. Fire crews worked hard this morning to put out a commercial fire in St. Elmo. The smoke could be seen for miles. Russell Stroud, Nuga Radio News Talk 92.7 Action News. Now.
Sean Hannity, weekday afternoons from 3 to 6 p.m. on Nuga Radio 92.7 FM.
Nuga Radio 92.7. Chattanooga weather.
Becoming fair through your nighttime hours. A little drier and milder overnight. Lows into the upper 60s to around 70. Now for your Wednesday, a beautiful day. Lots of sunshine with lower humidity. Still hot, but not bad. Highs of around 90 again on Thursday. Tired of the pressures and hassles of car shopping? Come see what more people are making the short drive to Jackson Chevrolet Buick GMC in Lafayette or online at jacksongm.com. That's Jackson Chevy Buick GMC in Lafayette. And I'm Source E12 Chief Meteorologist Patrick Ford.
Nuga Radio 92.7.
Your home is a constant work in progress. Repaint the walls? Yeah, easy enough. Leaky faucet? There's a video for that. But roof repair? You might want some help. That's where Chattanooga Roofing Contractors come in. They have 3 generations of roofing excellence you can count on. Leave the ladder in the garage